All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea.
Classic.
It is. And we're going deep.
Awesome. Let me say it.
We've got this aging Cuban fisherman, Santiago, right?
Right.
He goes head-to-head with a giant marlin out in the Gulf Stream. But here's the thing. It's more than just a fishing tale. We're going to uncover all those layers Hemingway weaves in. Perseverance, pride, how we connect with nature, you name it.
Exactly. What gets me every time is how Hemingway can pack such deep meaning into these really simple, striking images.
Oh, totally. Like how he describes Santiago's, physical appearance, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from the tough stuff at all.
Not one bit. It's all right there. The sun cancer spots on his cheeks, for example, I mean, those aren't just random details.
They're like battle scars in a way, right?
Absolutely. Signs of a life spent at sea. It's the price he's paid. But then you've got this contrast, despite all that hardship, his eyes, they're described as cheerful and undefeated.
It's that inner strength, that refusal to give up. That's pure Santiago.
Exactly. You can't break him. And that's where that story about the hand game comes in, right?
With the
Migro from Cienfuegos.
yeah, that one. It gives you a glimpse into Santiago's past, back when he was El Campeon.
Exactly. It's Hemingway's way of showing us that Santiago wasn't always this, weathered old man, you know?
Right.
He had his glory days, a man of incredible strength, pride, the whole 9 yards. And it adds this whole other layer to what he's going through now. He's not just fighting the marlin, he's fighting the fact that his prime is, behind him.
It makes you think, though, is he maybe clinging to those past glories a bit too much?
That's a really good question. Could his pride be blinding him to the risks he's taking? You have to wonder, and it's something that becomes even more interesting when you think about the whole cultural context.
Okay, yeah.
In a Cuban fishing village, back then especially, how much you caught, that basically defined you as a man.
So going 84 days without a fish, that's not just bad luck for Santiago.
It cuts deep. It's a blow to his whole identity.
Which leads us to Manolin, right?
The boy.
Yeah. The kid who idolizes Santiago. Their relationship is
special.
It really is.
Yeah.
Almost like father and son.
You hit the nail on the head. You've got Manolin representing youth, innocence, the future. He's the total opposite of Santiago, who represents experience, all the tough times, and, a past that's fading.
Yeah.
And yet, despite everyone telling him to go fish on a luckier boat,
He sticks with Santiago.
he chooses loyalty every time. Brings him food, takes care of him, and most importantly, believes in him.
I love that part where Manolin reminds Santiago about that time he went 87 days without a fish.
And
And then, bam, he catches huge ones for weeks. It's like Manolin is trying to rekindle that spark of hope in the old man.
And Santiago needs that desperately. Madeleine's faith, that unwavering belief, it gives him a reason to keep pushing, to go beyond what he thinks he's capable of. But it also makes you wonder,
What's that?
is Santiago's influence on Manolin all good? Is he teaching him that pride and never giving up are more important than safety or even common sense? It's
Yeah.
a tough one.
Okay, so let's talk about how Hemingway describes the sea. He just brings it to life. It's like you can practically smell the salt air and feel the spray on your face.
I know, right? It's incredible. And it's fascinating how he personifies the sea, referring to it as la mar, giving it those feminine qualities.
I never caught that.
Yeah. It becomes this powerful force, beautiful, but also cruel.
It can give life, and it can just as easily.
Take it away. And he doesn't skimp on the details, the flying fish, those delicate seabirds, the sheer vastness of the ocean. It's all so vivid.
It's like the sea itself is another character.
Exactly. It's not just some background. It's shaping Santiago's destiny every step of the way. And that leads us to
Marlin.
the legendary fish that becomes both Santiago's ultimate challenge and, in a strange way, his reflection. And the way Hemingway describes this marlin, it's just, wow. The size, the power, every single move.
It's like this mythical beast, something straight out of a legend.
Totally. Longer than the skiff itself, can you imagine? And the way Santiago talks about it?
There's this respect there and admiration, even a feeling of,
Brotherhood.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they're connected somehow.
It's a complicated relationship for sure. I mean, remember that line where Santiago says, "Fish, I love you and respect you very much, but I will kill you dead before this day ends."
Oh man, that line gets me every time.
Right. It sums up everything about their struggle.
It's like Santiago sees the marlin's strength, and its dignity, even while they're locked in this battle for their lives.
It really makes you think about our own relationship with nature. How do we balance admiration with the desire to conquer?
It's a deep question.
Some critics even argue that the marlin represents something even deeper, like Santiago's lost youth. his vitality slipping away.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's this challenge he has to overcome to prove himself, to recapture some of that former glory.
But doesn't that get kind of dangerous at some point?
Hmm.
I mean, how far is too far? He's risking his life out there for this fish.
That's what Hemingway makes us wrestle with, right? Is Santiago's pride his undoing in the end? Does he sacrifice too much just for this almost mythical victory?
And then, of course,
The sharks
talk about a brutal scene.
just tearing the marlin apart,
Yeah.
leaving nothing but a skeleton.
Awful. But so symbolic, too, right? Like, even when you achieve something amazing, there's always something out there ready to rip it away.
Like a cruel reminder that you can't control everything. There's always loss. Even your greatest triumphs can get taken down.
It makes you question the whole idea of winning. Like, what does it even mean?
Exactly. Is it about what you can hold in your hands? Or is it something more about your inner strength? You know, that refusal to be broken even when you lose everything?
Well, Santiago's got that in spades. Remember, he says, man is not made for defeat.
Powerful words. He might be coming home empty-handed, with just the marlin's bones to show for it all. But his spirit, that's unbreakable.
That image of him sleeping at the end always gets to me. Face down, arms out.
Like a man crucified.
Yeah, exactly. Totally spent. Physically, emotionally, just drained. But there's still that dignity there, that defiance.
And Madeline, seeing him like that, breaks down.
Oh, yeah. Crying when he sees Santiago's hands. It's heartbreaking, but it shows you how deep their bond is. And it shows the true cost of what Santiago went through. It's like Madeline gets it. Santiago gave everything he had. Maybe he came back with nothing to show for it, but he achieved something greater.
He's the embodiment of Hemingway's grace under pressure, facing those challenges head on, enduring so much suffering, and in the end, finding some kind of peace and accepting what fate throws at him.
But is Madeline picking up the wrong lessons here? Learning that pushing yourself past your limits, even risking your life, is the only way to be great.
It's definitely something to consider. It's not black and white, right? The novella doesn't hand us any easy answers.
We have to grapple with these tough questions. Like, what's the downside to that kind of unwavering pride and determination?
And then there's that contrast Hemingway draws between Santiago and Madeline and those tourists on the terrace.
Right. They're all gawking at the marlin skeleton, but they have no clue what it really represents.
Like they're looking at a sideshow.
Yeah.
They see a spectacle. But Santiago and Madeline, they understand the real cost of that beauty, the sacrifice it took to get there.
It makes you think about how we often celebrate the outcome without acknowledging the whole struggle behind it. You know, all the sacrifices and potential risks that come with chasing victory no matter what. So we're left with this image of Santiago, defeated but undefeated. He comes back with nothing but a skeleton. His body is just wrecked, but his spirit, it's still there. It makes you wonder, does Hemingway ever really answer that question? Is Santiago truly undefeated?
I don't think he's trying to give us a simple answer, you know?
Right.
It's more like he's challenging us to think about what victory really means. Is it about outward success? Or is it something deeper, like the ability to bounce back, to not be crushed by all the tough stuff life throws at you?
And it all takes place against this backdrop of the sea. So vast, so unpredictable. Beautiful, but at the same time.
It doesn't care about human suffering.
Yeah.
The Old Man and the Sea, it's not just a fishing story, right? It's about what it means to be human, our struggles against things we can't control, and how we find meaning when the world seems like it doesn't have any.
And Santiago's pride, in that context, it takes on a whole new meaning.
It's not just about ego or proving something to others. It's about holding on to his humanity even when it feels like the universe is trying to crush him.
Yeah, that's good.
It's that pride that pushes him to keep going when most people would give up. It's what lets him endure so much pain, so much suffering. And yeah, maybe it leads him to make some reckless choices, but it also gives him the strength to persevere, to find dignity, even in defeat.
But is there a danger in, romanticizing that kind of pride?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when you consider Madeline, who looks up to Santiago so much. He wants to be just like him.
The novella doesn't sugarcoat anything. It shows the potential downside of Santiago's obsession with victory. It makes you think about the sacrifices involved and how that kind of ambition can turn destructive.
So where do we land on all this? We admire Santiago's courage, his determination, but we also see the risks he takes, the consequences for him and everyone around him. How do you reconcile those two sides?
I think that tension is at the heart of what makes this such a powerful book. It's not giving us easy answers or simple morals. It's about a real person struggling with these huge questions about life, death, what it all means. And I think that's what makes it so timeless.
It definitely leaves you with more questions than answers,
Yeah.
but in a good way. It forces you to confront your own ideas about pride, ambition, what it means to be successful.
It's a challenge to think about our own relationship with nature. Do we admire it, try to control it? And Santiago reminds us that we're a part of nature, but also separate from it. And our actions have consequences for us and for everything around us.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of The Old Man and the Sea.
Me too. It's been a pleasure.
And for everyone listening, we want to leave you with something to think about. As you go about your day, consider Santiago's journey, all the struggles, the triumphs, his acceptance of what happens to him. And ask yourself, what does it mean to be undefeated in your own life? How do your relationships, your challenges, the losses you faced, how do they shape who you are and how you see the world? Let those questions guide you as you explore The Old Man and the Sea. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.